I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Jason Putz, a physical therapist, and this is Ted Cruzy, physical therapist as well at Physical Therapy Solutions in Dyersville, Iowa. We've gathered some dynamic stretching and warm-up activities for coaches in the area, and we'd just like to share them with people around the world as far as providing some injury prevention aspects for sport, as well as a tool and a guideline for coaches to kind of look at what they need for individual sports from a dynamic standpoint.
We use dynamic stretches to allow the athlete to warm up their muscles and increase blood flow to those muscles to loosen up and also decrease the injury rate. Dynamic stretches do a great job of maintaining the elastic component of the muscles and tendons, which static stretching can remove. So dynamic stretches does a good job to decrease injury rate and also improve your athletic performance.
With our intro into dynamic stretching, we really want to emphasize to the coaches and to the athletes that are watching this that technique is key. We don't want you to just go out there and kind of go through the motions. You really, to have good carryover to sport and athletic competition, you really need to emphasize technique. We'll describe that with each exercise that we're doing, but as well with coaches, I think it's very important that as you're watching these kids and teaching these kids the proper technique, you really want to look at their alignment and make sure that they're doing everything properly as we've kind of described with each individual exercise. Here we're looking for the athlete to really come up on the big toe and drive on up. And then as the athlete comes back, you're looking at alignment to maintain his balance.
It's also important for the athlete to really drive that knee and pull it up towards his chest to get a good glute stretch. For the butt kick on the toes, the athlete's going to again drive up onto his toes, grab the ankle, and kick backwards. It's important to keep his chest aligned upright and not lean forward. We're trying to get a good quad and rectus femoris stretch, so maintaining upright alignment is key.
You can see here our athlete does have a slight forward lean that we're trying to really adjust for and keep his chest back as he's pulling that leg back. And trying to maintain good balance and proprioception when he's on one leg. With teeter-totters, we're really focusing on the hamstring stretching on the leg that he's standing on, and really working for a good balance and core strength as he's going forward. Really trying to bend at the hip and not the back.
By maintaining a good back or a flat back, the athlete will get the best hamstring stretch, but also avoid any chances of injury while doing the stretch.
You really want your athlete to try to maintain good single leg standing balance as they're going through this motion as well.
For the toy soldier march, the key or the goal is a controlled yet dynamic hamstring stretch. So speed is important for the athlete here, making sure they're not going too fast and kicking up too aggressively or forcefully. They can reach up, and if they have the flexibility, touch their toe to feel a good hamstring stretch and back down, maintaining their balance.
Their goal once again should be trying to maintain their knee to be straight to get a good hamstring stretch, but if they don't have the flexibility to do that, you'll see as our athlete has a little hamstring issues that they're not able to quite get it straight. But again, you're looking for that single leg balance once again while they're performing. Here with lunge and twist, you can get the athlete to get the back leg as the hip flexor stretching, as well as the rotation, getting the obliques to kind of get ready and to be able to perform for athletic competition?
There's a lot of different ways the athlete may cheat or perform this stretch without maximizing what you're trying to get out of it. So really watch the athlete's speed as he's coming at you. You can see how he's going to rotate through the trunk and really stretch through that opposite hip flexor and into the quad and rectus femoris.
As a coach, you really want to look for them over-exaggerating and not performing proper alignment when they do this. You can see that he's doing more of a lean back than a rotation, and then all he's looking at the knee to make sure that they're in proper alignment when they're coming straight forward. Here with the lateral lunge, we're starting to get the hip adductors and abductors loosening up, get a little rotation into the transverse plane as well while we're warming up these muscles.
The nice thing about adding this stretch is the different planes that you're starting to work. So the rotation gets the transverse plane, and then the lateral lunge gets the frontal plane, and just another component that your athlete will put themselves in while they're performing. You want to watch your athlete's technique here. Make sure they're sitting back, like they're sitting down into a chair, not lunging too far forward over the front of their knee.
The arm circles are really trying to loosen up the shoulders and starting out small circles, working bigger, as well as starting out slow, working to increase your speed as you're going around. Start forward, and then we will reverse the same pattern backwards. Really looking for your athlete to keep his head straight ahead and maintain a good alignment there.
Your athlete's going to be loosening up and mobilizing the shoulder or glenohumeral joint, and also the scapulothoracic joint on the backside.
The high knee exercise is really meant to loosen up the hips and get them ready for sport in the sagittal plane. At the same time, really emphasizing to your athlete to be pumping his arms just like they would be in sport.
With butt kicks, you want to have the athlete staying upright, kicking their butt, kicking their heels back towards their butt. This should give them a quick stretch on their quad and rectus femoris. If they were to cheat and lean forward, they may lose some of that stretch, so coaches watch their alignment. They can also cheat here. You can see the athlete kicking his feet out a little bit too much, so we'd like to see that heel coming straight up towards the butt, toes staying straight ahead as well. Backward run, the athlete's going to be lengthening out, really reaching back. You can see our athlete kicking back, reaching with his legs back each time. He'll be getting a stretch through his quads dynamically, landing lightly on his toes and getting his arms pumping as well.
Back pedal, our athletes really kind of moving more from the hamstrings with the knee flexion, coming on back, trying to keep those arms pumping as well.
CARIOCA, the athlete's again moving in the frontal plane towards the side, and here we've got a lot of different motion going on. He's moving in the frontal plane side to side. He's bringing that trail hip up and across, and you can also see some transverse plane motion with his upper body. With zigzags, you're again making these transitioning these exercises to become more dynamic and more sport specific. You can have the athletes run approximately 5 yards, break down for what they would do for their respective sport, and plant off their outside leg into the cut. Coaches, you may tweak this to your specific sport if you'd like them to run further into their cut or further into their break. however you like to teach them coming out of those cuts.
With bounding, we're really trying to overemphasize that running pattern. Both the shoulders and arms and hips are really overextending and really reaching on out with good alignment.
Form runs really starts to put everything together. Coaches get a good viewpoint of your athlete, watch them come at you, so their arm drive and knee drive are all coming straight ahead, straight forward. You can also have the athlete add an accelerated component to this where they start slowly, build up that speed to 75 to 100% of their sprint, and slowly come back down.